All right, today we're diving into something that is, on one hand, a global comfort food, and on the other, a really deep and complex art form. Welcome to our Ramen Chronicle, a universe in a bowl.
So let me start by asking you a question, a little thought experiment. Imagine you're stranded on a desert island, and you can only have one dish for the rest of your life. What's it going to be? Take a second, really think about it. You got your answer? Well, if you ask that same question in Japan, you're going to hear one answer over and over again. And that answer is ramen. That's right, a humble bowl of noodle soup. But as we're about to find out, it is so much more than that.
And that's really the core idea for today. We're exploring how a seemingly simple dish can contain an entire universe of flavor, of history, and of pure craft.
So yeah, on the surface, you could just say ramen is noodle soup. But when you look closer, it's this incredible culinary art form. And it's that journey, from a simple meal to a massive cultural icon, that we're going to unpack.
In Japan, they actually have a term for this, sho uchu, which means small universe. And the concept is that one single bowl can hold a chef's personal philosophy, the history of an entire region, and an unbelievable amount of artistry. All for what, $7 to $10? It's amazing.
So how do we even begin to decode that universe in a bowl? Well, let's break down the key elements of what makes great ramen and some of the unique customs that go with it.
The absolute soul of any bowl of ramen is the broth. And there are four main types. They're often called the four kings. You've got shoyu, which is that clear, savory soy sauce base. It's got this deep umami flavor, super classic Tokyo style. Then there's shio, a really delicate salt-based broth that's all about this clean, pure flavor. If you want something heavier, you go for miso ramen. It's famously from the cold city of Sapporo, and it's this rich, complex broth made from fermented soybean paste. And finally, my favorite, tonkotsu. This is that creamy, almost milky pork bone broth from Hakata that's been simmered for hours and hours until it's just packed with collagen. Trust me, each one is a completely different experience.
And now for the big one. The question literally every foreigner asks, is it rude to slurp your noodles? I mean, in a lot of Western cultures, making noise while you eat is a huge no-no. But in a Japanese ramen shop, it's a whole different story. So why is slurping not just okay, but actually a good idea? Well, there are two brilliant, really practical reasons. First, when you slurp, you're pulling air in with the noodles, and that carries the incredible aroma of the broth right up into your nose, which makes everything taste better. And second, it cools down the piping hot noodles just enough so you can eat them right away without burning your mouth. It's such a cool example of how function can shape a custom. Okay, here's another unique piece of ramen culture you need to know, kaedama. Just imagine this. You've finished all your noodles, but you've still got all this delicious broth left over. Well, in many shops, especially the tonkotsu places, you can just ask for a kaedama, and they'll bring you an extra helping of noodles to drop right into your leftover soup. How genius is that? So, we've been talking all about this artisanal, crafted ramen experience. But now, let's flip the coin and explore the other side of the ramen world, the one that's become a global phenomenon. And that story really starts back in 1958 with a man named Momofuku Ando. He's the guy who invented chicken ramen, which was the world's very first instant noodle. And he had this huge goal of ending world hunger. Little did he know, his invention would completely revolutionize global food culture. Just get a load of this number. Over 100 billion, with a B, over 100 billion servings of instant noodles are eaten every single year. It's an absolutely staggering figure, and it just shows you the incredible global impact of that one invention. But here's the crucial thing to understand. Even though the world loves instant ramen, in Japan nobody confuses it with the real deal. Artisanal ramen from a shop and instant ramen from a package, they're understood to be two completely different, totally separate categories of food. One is craft, the other is convenience. End of story.
So now that you've got all this cool ramen knowledge, how can you actually use it? Let's turn all this into a toolkit for having some great conversations, especially if you're doing a language exchange.
Okay, here's your first topic, the great slurping debate. You can ask your language partner, hey, in your country, is it ever okay to make noise when you eat, or is it always rude? It's a fantastic way to start comparing cultural manners.
Topic 2 is all about the wait. In Japan, it is totally normal to wait in line for an hour, maybe even more, for a famous ramen shop. So a great question to ask is, how long would you be willing to wait in line for an amazing meal?
This can lead to some really fun stories about favorite restaurants.
And for topic 3, instant versus fresh, you can ask if they have authentic, fresh ramen shops where they live. And if they do, have the flavors been changed or adapted at all to suit local tastes? This is a great way to start talking about how food travels and changes around the world. And to help you have those conversations, here's a little cheat sheet of key vocabulary. Instead of just saying soup, try using broth. You'll sound like you know what you're talking about. You can also talk about the texture of the noodles, your favorite toppings, the custom of slurping, and of course, that awesome refill system, kayadama.
So there you have it. We've gone from a simple bowl of noodles to a deep cultural topic, and now to a real conversation that you can go out and have. Your adventure is really just beginning.
Just remember this. Every single bowl of ramen tells a story of history, place, and passion. And in that same way, every conversation you have is a chance to discover something new about another person and their culture. So don't be afraid to just start talking.
And that leaves us with one final question. We've explored the small universe in a bowl of ramen, so now, what universe are you going to discover next?